Okay, this one, I cannot say enough times, you must practice this one slowly. Even though this one, the quarter note does get the beat, I highly recommend that you learn it with the eighth note getting the beat. Because it's going to be about muscle memory. If you try to learn it too fast, if you try to rush it, you're just going to learn it wrong. Either you're going to learn wrong pitches or you're going to learn wrong fingerings. I'm going to go ahead and point out the alternate fingerings that I use on this one. There's one that is absolutely vital to me, and I couldn't do it if I didn't have it on here, and that is in measure 14, the trigger open for the F. It didn't matter how many times I practiced that, fingering the F correctly, I could not do it until I made that trigger open. So that's one that I would definitely do. There's a couple of others that you can kind of get by with. Like if you have a trouble slurring between the C and the E, you can use the trigger 2 for the E, just to make that slur a little easier. And the E to the G, same thing if you have a hard time making those slurs work. But the exercises down at the bottom from the Irwin Daily Drill, these exercises, like 1 and 2, especially on this etude, 1 and 2 are your bread and butter. They are what's going to really help make all of these little slurs happen. And you just start them slow and make them gradually go faster. So I'm going to do number 1. This is on the bottom of the handout on that first one from the Irwin Daily Drills. And then the same thing with the number 2. And those are probably the 2 slurs that you do over and over and over in this etude that even myself, which I would consider myself to be, I mean, I've played for a long time, I still had a lot of trouble sometimes going from that E to the G or from the C to the E. I don't know if you are like this, but sometimes if I'm playing high range stuff for a long time, I go kind of like on that last etude, I go to play something low and it doesn't want to speak at all. And so I kind of get stuck in one register. I'm playing in the high register and it's going great, or if I play in the low register, it's going great, but as soon as I try to pick one note that's in a different register, it doesn't really want to speak. And so that's one reason. Another reason you might want to choose some alternate fingerings in here. I think the hardest measure of the whole piece is the last measure, because you're out of air, it's low after you just played a whole bunch of high stuff, and so it's hard. And so playing even on like measure 30, the middle C, trigger open is an excellent place to kind of get your face back low again, or doing trigger 2 for those E's, because that lip slurp from C to E in 31, it seems like it's easy because it's like the first thing we learned in 6th grade, right? C, E, G, E, C. But it's so hard when you're up in the high range and then all of a sudden you have to play C, E. I don't know what makes it so hard, but sometimes throwing in that trigger 2 to help with the E, it makes a huge difference. Same articulation throughout. The thing I would really like to stress on this one is you're going to have to practice the articulation. Because it's the same articulation throughout, I think you should work it into your daily scale practice. I play scales every day. That is my warm-up. I do some lip slurs, I do some other stuff, but I make sure I go through all 12 major scales and I go chromatically. C, C sharp, D, D sharp. You don't have to do all 12 major scales for your audition, but you do have a set of 5 scales, right? 6 scales, I don't remember how many. But you're going to have to play straight down the page if you make it to area. So you might as well play straight down the page every day, right? And if you're going to play straight down the page every day, vary it up a little bit. So one day, tongue them all. One day, slur them all. One day, do what it says, tongue them up, slur them down. And then one day, ta 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 ta. Right? That's the articulation in this one. So if you'll spend some time working on this articulation and getting your tongue to go a little bit faster, this one will come by a little easier. Talked about the alternate fingerings, the breath marks. Boy, so Koprash says that at least I've heard, it's not like Koprash told me this, but rumor has it, the little tick marks are notes that can be eliminated for a breath if you have to, if it's like actually on a note, which like measure 30 for example, that little tick mark is actually on the E. So you could leave out the E to breathe. I don't agree with that and I don't like doing that. I think you should keep all the notes in there, but adjust your tempo accordingly. Or take a little breath, sneak a little breath here and there if you need to, but I don't think you need to necessarily leave notes how to do that. Okay? So, we're like almost out of time.